You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Mike. All right, you got to help me with your last name.
Ehmcke, like M-key.
Oh, Ehmcke. So, Mike, what do you do for a living, man?
My real job, I am an audio engineer at Walt Disney World.
And how'd you get started doing that?
Well, 21 years ago, I graduated from a audio school here in Orlando, Florida called Full Sail, and happened to get a job. Well, I graduated in November 97. January 98, I got interviewed and was hired in February 98. So,
and what are some of the things I guess you would do in your job?
Some of the things that I do, I tend to run a lot of the daily op shows at Epcot. So it just depends on the stage location, but a lot of it is the audio setup for the day, then the running of the show, and then striking everything at night so it's all secured for the person who comes in the next day.
Is there any, I guess, being involved in Disney, you probably get kind of sick of the same stuff over and over again, see the Mickey Mouse ears and all those types of things?
Thankfully, with entertainment, a lot of times I don't have a lot of guest interaction. So seeing the ears and whatnot, yeah, it's no big deal.
But being around, I mean, how many times can you hear like the same Disney songs over and over again?
After a while, you tune it out.
After a while, it feels like you probably just end up standing on top of a building like, okay, is this what my life is?
But actually, it's been pretty good. Like I said, I've been there 21 years, and the benefits and the perks have been great.
Is there any types of projects that you've worked on that you like, I guess would say were your all-time favorites, or any types of
I've helped to open quite a few shows. I've helped close a few shows. So being part of opening teams or closing teams is kind of cool because not many people get to claim that. I'm trying to think what else.
I'm trying to think of the specifics on a closing team. Could you give me a little bit more details? Like,
closing team has been like when, like I was involved in helping close the Toy Story parade over at Disney Hollywood Studios.
Oh God, really?
So that what that was involved is being part of the final show, being part of I was part of the final crew, and was actually that helped start tearing down getting that parade ready for teardown in its finale, and then eventually helping tear down the floats and whatnot, or getting the floats ready for storage, and then opening team. At the same time, we were getting ready for the Milan parade to come in at the same time. So we were doing a little bit of both.
Do you ever find that, like, so without, I guess, the audio engineers, a lot of what makes Disney World would not be running today? Like, wouldn't have the same, I guess, feel?
Without entertainment, no, it wouldn't have the same feel.
Yeah.
I mean, because I also work with, in my department, it's not just me or just audio guys. We have lighting guys, we have video guys, we have props guys. Of course, almost every park here. Animal Kingdom's the exception to that at the moment. All the parks have fireworks shows. So you had the pyro guys too, who they spend 8 hours a day setting up and then blowing up the product that they set up during show.
Can anybody's job, like pyrotechnics or some type of video, anything of that sort, can that mess up your process of how you have to do your job? Like make it more difficult for you to be able to kind of get your ending product through?
With daily ops, not really. Prop side, yeah. If there's a prop we need and it's not not there, then we got to contact the props person. If they say it's going to take 2-3 weeks to either get made or ordered and delivered, then yeah, it's going to slow us down. But we still do the show. We still do the show without the prop until it becomes available.
What types of, I guess, problems have you faced doing your job?
It's run the gambit. I've had where during the show I've had microphones fail, and I've had to go out and run either new mics or new mic lines or new microphones or both, depending on the scenario. There was one we've had a couple times where one of our wired mics had failed. We had a spare handheld, spare wireless, so we just put the spare wireless on that person.
See, what I'm thinking is like the way you're describing it to me is as much I can relate it to being like a roadie for a band or something. You're kind of working in the wings, not really getting all the credit and everything. And a lot of people don't know how much work goes into the product that they're viewing.
Roadies are a little different. I mean, because a lot of times, yeah, I may be the roadie for the band as well, but I'm also running the audio console. And with some of the stages, I'm also doing their lighting console at the same time.
So you're basically doing a little bit more work on it than a roadie does.
Correct. A lot of times, roadies, if you want to go from the concert avenue, you have one person who all their job is to unload the road cases off the trailer and put the road cases back on the trailer. You have someone else who all they do is handle running cables across the stage, and at the end of the night, striking those cables to the other side of the stage. Or you have one person just in charge of drum stuff or guitar stuff or bass stuff. It's a little bit different. I mean, with Disney, a lot of times if I'm at a stage, I'm doing everything on that stage.
Do you find that your perspective on like how, like, I guess before you even started the job at Disney, just looking kind of back at seeing a show or some type of act or performance being played, either whether it's in theater or something you might have seen when you were a kid, you think your perspective on it has changed considering that now you know all the work and all the stuff that happens that a lot of people aren't aware of?
But before I went to Disney?
Yeah.
No, because I had already, by the time I graduated high school, I had already had 200 professional performances.
Well, I mean, even before, like when you're a kid, I mean, you're speaking to me. So like when you're saying this, it's like,
that's the whole thing. I was in high school. I was still in high school, and I was already 2 years, by the time I graduated high school, I already had 2 years of experience as a professional technician in theater or in entertainment.
Did you just do that at your local school? Just decide, like when
no. We actually had during the summer a professional show that was in our area, and then on top of that, I worked at the local theater in the town.
Is
this
a passion of yours? Like, because I know some people say they want to be an astronaut and these types of things, but what made you decide that this audio engineering was the way you wanted to go in?
I was just always been fascinated by it. I mean, I've been in the entertainment industry over 33 years. And, 21 of those years have been at Disney, which has been great because in entertainment, it's hard to get a steady 40-hour work week type job with benefits. Like my brother for the longest time was a lighting guy who toured. Well, he'd be out on the road for 2 months, come home for 2 months, looking for the next gig, and didn't have insurance, didn't have benefits or anything else. Whereas I'm still pulling 40 hours a week, got health insurance, got dental insurance. Everything's all covered. I got lucky with Disney that you're afforded those rights. And I say rights, they're not something that is given to you. Disney, it's like any job gives you those type of benefits. Those are rights. They're not.
Yeah. A lot of people misuse those. Like a lot of people say like, oh, that's just because that's what a job has to do. It's like, no, they're actually helping you out by providing these types of benefits for you to help keep you, like, also not only just keep you like your mind off of worries of, everyday life, medical insurance, all these types of things, but being able to have something where they have a process already going where you can get the stuff you need to make sure that you're still able to have a clear mind, good mood, good tone, and also be able to do your job
Oh, yeah.
effectively as well.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
is like, that's major. And especially a lot of people say, Disney World, like they care for their people there. And I mean, I podcasts with people that are giant fans of Disney from the movies. Honestly, I haven't seen a Disney movie in years. It's just because I don't watch too much TV anymore, mostly Netflix, but like they're still pretty popular. Like I see even like it's something for the whole family. And I was actually podcasting with this guy, his name is Bryce Bankard, and he hosts a nocturnal Disney podcast. And he was telling me, like, he just has a fascination with Disney. I'm like, oh, yeah, like, how many kids do you have? He's like, I don't have any kids. I'm like, what? And then he's like telling me this, and just listening to him go in about how awesome Disney World is. It's not only just for children, it's for adults too. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, you can go to the bar.
Yeah. Despite the angry mom rant that happened last week, which, yeah, whatever with her.
What happened with that? What are you talking about, angry mom rant?
She got on this rant about how Disney should ban childless couples or people without children from the parks because it takes away from her experience. And her family's experience, because her 3-year-old kid saw this woman who was scantily clad. Well, okay, you know what? If she was wearing Daisy Duke shorts and a tank top, well, down here in Florida, it's been like today, heat index got up to 109.
Oh, yeah. It's been the hottest summer in history in this year alone, dude. I'm telling you, I went out the other day and I was like, I'm going to enjoy my wonderful day off. I was out in the sun for an hour and I decided, hey, maybe some vitamin D would be good for me. No, dude, I have sun poisoning now. It's been 6 days. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, the sun's not as good as everybody wants to go out and say it is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think with, like, when you're dealing with, first of all, that woman complaining about Disney World, they should ban these types of people. Okay, well, it's Disney World, okay? It's not your world. And you have to look at, I feel like, especially nowadays, everybody's looking out just to say something or complain about something. Nobody actually, like, just bothers about living in the moment. Now, I can tell you from personal experience of my childhood, I haven't been to amusement world in a long time, but when I did go, my parents worked in radio, so we usually got free tickets to go to like Six Flags. Those are just areas close by to me in Maryland. You being out in like Florida is a little bit different. But when it comes to going to an amusement park with your family and having that experience together, whether you have a family like that or whether you're just alone and going by yourself, it's the whole point of it is it's something everybody can experience. Everybody can pull fun out of it, no matter what it is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's something there for everyone. And I'm sorry if that woman got upset that this other lady bought a pretzel and it pissed her son off. Oh, well, stop being a cheapskate and buy your son a pretzel. If you either that or be a parent, stand up to your kid and go, no is no, asked and answered, sit down and deal with it.
Why do you think why do you think that is that people do that? Why do you think people rather just choose to complain than rather just actually,
entitlement?
Entitlement. I think so too. I think it's a real problem nowadays with how technology is expanding a little bit, and everyone seems like they can voice themselves anywhere and get a giant crowd of motivation to go after them.
Yep.
Like, I talk about technology being amazing. Yeah, like the fact that me and you can podcast right now, like, that's awesome. But at the same time, someone putting up a tweet and then a million people liking it gives them a whole face, like their opinion is the problem that's going on in the world. I'm like, I'm pretty sure the vending machine that doesn't have your candy bar is not bigger concerns than what's going on in the world today. There's a hell of a lot more stuff we should be worried about. And with these types of things that people choose to focus on and choose to put all their pent-up aggression throughout their whole entire life into one smallest little problem, one smallest little just misunderstanding, and they choose to run with it. And when that happens, it's just like, why are you doing this? Like,
well, and unfortunately, the biggest cause for it, which is something that I keep off of my podcast, is politics. I mean, it all stem, especially right now with the political, I don't know what the right word is, turmoil that's going on. I mean, that's a lot of the big cause of, I think, a lot of the entitlement and everything else going on right now.
What types of specifics do you think? Just with how, like, I get it. All right, Trump's outlandish. I understand that. Like, I don't follow politics a whole lot, but like I said, my podcast is a conversation. So if it's going into politics, we're going to talk about politics. I'm not hiding anything.
All right. So I consider myself a moderate independent. I claim no party affiliation, and right now I prefer to keep it that way. But when you have let's take the squad, for instance, the four ladies on the Democrats. When you have them complaining about how we need to be funding things down on the Mexican border, but yet you go back and look at when funding had come through, and now all it was a straight funding bill, and there was nothing else tacked onto it, they turned it down. And then they go down there and go for the full media event to, oh, look, we should be helping these people and crying. And I can relate because this is something that happened with me. And like, then why'd you turn it down? You could have helped, and you turned it down. I think
Trump was
not my choice. I mean, Trump wasn't my choice for president out of the Republican side, but I liked him a lot better than Hillary, but because I know a lot of the Hillary background from when she was in Arkansas, when I lived in Arkansas.
See, that gives you a better perspective on choosing a candidate, because a lot of that people are just like, you're just not voting for her because she's a woman. I'm like, is no one focused on the problem that she had these emails that were supposed to be on private servers that she was sharing with her own public thing? Like, does anybody even talk about that? And then the fact that she goes and lies about a million things, and everyone's like, that you're not denying her because of that. You're denying her because she's a woman. I'm like, all right, now we're not having a conversation anymore. Now it's just like, well, I'm talking to a wall. Like, what?
Well, let's take a look at, all of a sudden now she's very supportive of same-sex marriage.
Based on her interview in 2014,
and all those rights. But yeah, you look at all the time before she ran for an office, even earlier, she was very anti-gay.
Yeah.
Why all of a sudden the spin? Because she wants those votes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but when all that stuff gets drawn out, I mean, everyone's criticizing Trump. Oh, he's doing this for the wall. Okay. Well, Reagan built a wall, and there was no complaint then. Clinton, well, he didn't build a wall. He had fencing built. No one complained then. I don't know about if Bush did anything. Obviously, we know Obama didn't do anything. And now Trump's coming in and trying to secure the borders a little bit more after what's gone on in the last almost 20 years. You know, other countries do it. Why can't we?
I think
because we're America.
Well, I think what happens is it's a little bit worse here than other countries. Like, I've talked to people from Europe. I've talked to people from Bulgaria, Romania, and the list goes on. And you know, they all have a fascination with coming over here. Now, I work at a hotel during the day, and I work with students that come from another country, and they come over here and experience the world. And then when they go back, like, I've talked to some of them now, and they say there's always one thing they really loved about America, and that was the experience. And they said the one thing they really did not like was the people here. And I asked them why that they would choose that. And they said, it's just different. And I'm like, what do you mean different? They're like, you're one of the rare exceptions. I'm like, how am I a rare exception? They go, because you took the time to get to know us. You took the time to, you know, show us who you really are, actually care about us. And it didn't seem fake. And once I heard that, I was like, it makes sense. A lot of people, at least today in the world, they kind of always come back to this, is that we walk around with a mask. We don't want to show who we truly are, because we're afraid of hurting either someone around us or feeling like if we exposed who we really are, people wouldn't like us. We're constantly worried about like, pull out the measuring ruler, whose dick's bigger, like that whole thing. I'm like, the whole point is we got some problems here, major problems here, but we're so willing to go in and mess with everybody else and try and fix them. I'm like, we're not even fixed ourselves. You're trying to build a better foundation, or you're trying to build a better system on a crooked foundation. It's not going to last. And we started off on the rocks, whether you want to go back all the way back to Christopher Columbus and what he did and all that stuff. But like I said, when you have these types of things that give political, when it gets majorly political, like why is that and religion two things you can't bring up at a dinner table, especially around your own family, where you don't feel comfortable because you're afraid you might piss somebody off? Just because, you know, depending on obviously where you're from, it's going to be a little bit different. But we all have different views. We all have different thoughts. We all have different lives. We just walk around and just don't even bother to care what's going on in the world anymore.
Well, my family dinner table, if my family came in, I would have no problems saying my mind about politics, and I don't care. I could care less who I end up pissing off.
Yeah,
because I know for the most part, I would piss off my brother, and personally, I don't care because he doesn't listen to the show, but he doesn't listen to podcasts in general. But you know, he's just a self-centered ass. So.
See, well, the whole thing is though, like when you look at like a census test or some type of thing where you get little box categories, say white, black, all this type of stuff. I feel like now there should be one that says, you know, Democrat, conservative, independent, like all on, like that should be a whole nother list right there. And I'm like, why are we identifying, or when did it become a thing that someone walks up to you and says, hi, my name is Robbie. I'm a conservative. And it's like, excuse me? It's like, what'd you just say?
Well, just an observation I've made. The Klan, which has always called themselves the military wing of the Democratic Party, is now considered alt-right, which makes them Republicans. Because if you remember during the whole Trump campaign, all the alt-right, you know, the Klan and, you know, no, they're all Democrat organizations, Democrat based. It's just the Republicans are stepping up about immigration, and it's just one of the things they happen to be fond of, and that's why their vote's going that way. Is they're going with where someone's talking, whether they take it right or wrong, what's being said, and a lot of times they're taking it wrong. It's just the way it is.
See, I started looking at immigration a little bit differently when we started looking at, like, I guess talking to people that are not from here and trying to come over here to better their lives. I've talked to immigrants. I've talked to people that were over here illegally. I've talked to people that were over here illegally, and hearing it from the illegals, how hard and difficult it was just to leave their area. Now, I don't believe that you should be doing that. I don't think, but I also think it shouldn't be so damn hard to try and better your life and come over here. Yes, we do have a problem with overpopulation when it comes to that. We don't even have enough really to sustain ourselves, and letting a whole bunch of people over here is not the answer to anything. But they're going to get over here anyway, even if Trump builds a wall or not, sadly. There's just too many ways around it. It doesn't seem like it's really working. You know, I'm not pro-Trump. I'm not against Trump. I think with every president, there is evidence that they did some good, but there was bad. You know, nobody's done it right. I think the job of being a president, much like how Joe Rogan kind of says, it's ridiculous because you're giving so much power into one person. You're giving them everything, and then they could be vetoed by Congress, whatever you want to go with that. But it's a ridiculous notion. Nobody's been able to do it 100% correct.
Well, look at Obama. I mean, he's been one of our younger presidents. I mean, he went in, his hair was black as black. I'm not saying this as a racial thing. I'm just saying his hair color was black.
Yeah.
Think about when he left the office.
Oh no, you could tell there was
He
some
was
wear and tear on
great.
him.
It's job's not for the faint. So
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
that's not just with Obama. That's with, I mean, you could tell
anyone.
JFK, all the presidents
Oh
throughout
yeah.
history. It's taken a toll on them. And it's like, wow, you're only in
Yep.
office for what, 8 years, and they're just like, dude, it was a lot. And like
Yeah.
you see that, I'm like, I'm still wondering how Trump keeps that orange tan and that yellow hair. You know what I mean? I'm still wondering. But when you see it, it's because it's so much problems. Basically, you feel like you can handle your own problems. You're like, all right, well, I'm gonna start a family. You start a family, and then you start dealing with their problems. You're like, well, it's a lot, but I can handle it. Then you keep expanding your crowd, becoming a voice, becoming a leader. When you accept the leadership role in anything, you are taking on a major responsibility because you are looked to basically as a structure for others to
Yeah.
follow. And when that
Yep.
happens, especially when you're trying to run the country, you know how many people are going to be pro you, and you know how many millions of things are going to be written about you. Me personally, if someone says something about me, I'm kind of like, wow, and it hurts a little bit. So I'm like, I take offense to that. So being a president would not be in my wheelhouse, because the fact that I know right now, as we're talking, Trump is online looking up his name in a filter and searching every single tweet, every single post, making sure that nobody is talking
Oh
trash
yeah.
about them. And he's making sure he has a copy and paste response to every single one, so he can just sit there and go down the list. And the whole reason is he's a popular, he's an attention grabber. He's an attention seeker. He was in the WWE. He's literally, that's the whole thing. His whole platform is Trump, Trump, Trump. Like sticker it on everything. He wants to be seen in the most like popular light. And I feel like a lot of the stuff he says, a lot of the stuffs and actions he does that to get the attention, whether it's good or bad.
Stay in the news.
Yeah.
Because how many times does a president? I mean, most presidents, they're talked about every day anyway. But I mean, if you're talked about all day, then news is news.
Yeah, good publicity. I mean, there is no good or bad publicity. It's just all about just getting in the public eye. Because whether or not,
Any publicity is good publicity.
yeah, well, whether or not everyone agrees with what you're saying, they're still talking about you. They're still giving your name out
Yep.
there. You're still getting known. And I mean, you're going to have disagreements with everybody. There's just going to happen. I don't consider there to be good conversations or bad conversations. I consider them to be conversations that didn't reach to a conclusion that we both agreed on, whether it comes to religion, whatever it comes to whatever. But when you start classifying yourself under a Democratic Party or Republican Party, whatever you want to say, something that goes so political, I'm like, when did we turn politics into race? Like, race should not be a thing. I get there's a classification of people.
I agree.
Obviously, I'm white, you're black. It's the whole thing. But I don't believe it should exist. I think the fact that it's never going to be eliminated when we have words that you can't say because they're just known as you don't say that word. Like, you can't say that word. You're not able to say that word. I'm like, why are we looking at a word with such power and giving it that fire? We're giving that fuel to keep it going forever.
See, the racism is taught. You're not born a racist.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, it's a taught thing. And
yeah. When you're born,
once
you're
you get past that and get that out of the way, then everything is more of a balanced ground once you get rid of the color barrier.
What I think it should be, I think the world should be more like Disney World, because they don't deny anybody from coming in. They don't do anything of that sort, And
Sure.
the fact that like you hear all about what's awesome at freaking Disney World, everything from the amusement rides to just Disney in general, and then you hear. Go ahead.
And then for me, in 16 days in a wake up, I get to experience Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Are you excited for that?
Oh, I am so stoked for that.
Wait, so you're a Star Wars fan, correct? You're not a Star Trek fan?
I like them both.
But
I grew
what
up
do you?
with both.
The true question is, what do you like more?
Even though I was exposed to Star Trek first,
Star Wars.
it's Star Wars that got me into the business,
Thank God.
into the entertainment business.
Now I truly feel comfortable because a lot of my friends are Star Trek fans, and I was actually in a podcast, and it's pretty funny. It was nighttime, and we're sitting here talking on like doing a little recorded thing, talking about just like some specific topics I do on my spinoff series, and he goes, I had two people sitting across from me, and they were just going off and like kind of disagreeing and all this thing. And then we somehow got on the topic of Star Wars and Star Trek. And I'm the only Star Wars fan in the room. The rest are Star Trek fans. They're like, Star Wars sucks. And I felt like I was like all by myself, like getting pushed in a corner. I was like, I just want to highlight, I'm the only guy here that's not the asshole wearing sunglasses, because they're both wearing sunglasses inside when it's nighttime outside. And I'm like, I just want to point out, I'm the Star Wars fan and these two are the Star Trek people. Now, when it comes to something like this, I didn't really watch a whole lot of Star Trek. I didn't have that influence in my life. But the main thing was my dad sat me down and was like, you see these movies? And it was the Star Wars series. He's like, I want you to watch these. I want you to enjoy these because this is what you're going to live your life by. I'm like, excuse me? And I got addicted to these movies. I mean, they're awesome. They're amazing. Just the whole sci-fi thing in general. And especially for that time period, the amount of work that went into producing that and making those things. Whew. Just immense talent.
I put it this way. Star Wars wouldn't have happened without Flash Gordon and Star Trek and all the other influences of George Lucas. And I'm sure Star Trek has some influence. The Star Trek movies would not have happened if it wasn't for Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much been said, that the movies would have never have happened if Star Wars didn't lay the ground saying, yeah, it's possible to do this.
Yeah. And so I know working in Disney World, probably let's go let's get off the track about Disney World a little bit. Now, do you find that your passion now seems to be more dealing with, I know you host your own podcast called Mighty Marvel Geeks, and then you're the founder and producer of Wookie Radio. Tell me a little bit about those projects.
Well, actually, I run 3 shows. The main show, or the original show, is Be Geeks, which is just general geek culture, pop culture talk. Marvel, it's Mighty Marvel Geeks, and we talk all things Marvel. And Wookie Radio is the Star Trek show where we talk about xenomorphs and Cylons. Mm-hmm. Sorry, we talk everything Star Wars. I know, bad joke. But no, we talk everything Star Wars over on Wookie Radio. So
when you all right, so what's your fascination with Marvel? Because I mean, I'm not a Marvel or DC fan. Honestly, I like it all. I have an inner geek inside of me that I've talked to my friends who go to freaking Comic Cons and stuff all the time, dress up and spend hours and hours around these.
The Mighty Marvel Geeks came about because I have friends who are involved with a Disney internet radio station called Sorcerer Radio. It's probably the top Disney internet radio station out there. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was just coming out. And they were supposed to have someone do a show, a S.H.I.E.L.D. show, and or was it a S.H.I.E.L.D. show or a Once Upon a Time show? Anyway, they were supposed to do a show on one of those 2 subjects, and they backed out. And I got asked, hey, would you want to put together a S.H.I.E.L.D. show? I'm like, no, I'll do a Marvel show. That way we could talk everything Marvel. That way I'm not doing a show that's going to die if the show dies.
Yeah. If you rely too much on
what's the one.
Yeah, it's like if you started making a podcast about like a certain type of thing or TV show that's happening now, once that TV show is gone, you can just talk about, remember when that one up, and then it becomes a look back.
Well, you get that now with like Game of Thrones, Once Upon a Time.
I've never watched an episode of Game of Thrones. I'm sorry. I can't.
I mean, there's a bunch of shows out there that are like that their shows. And it's going to happen next year with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. once Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. goes away after season 7. what are all these Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. shows going to do? They're going to shut down. Well, guess what? I'm going to still be going because we're not doing just the shows. We're also covering the movies. We're covering the comics. We're covering the games.
Yeah, you're not limiting
collectibles.
yourself to one outlet.
Exactly.
You're not giving it just one source that it relies on for all your information, everything. You're looking
Correct.
at everything in the whole Marvel universe, which is so expansive. So that brings me to my next question. What's your favorite superhero?
My favorite superhero?
Marvel.
On the Marvel wise, Captain America.
Oh, why is that?
I don't know. I've just always liked Captain America. And I'm talking the Steve Rogers Captain America. It's just a character I've always enjoyed.
See, I see Steve Rogers. I see the Chris Evans Captain America. Now, is that your Captain America, or do you have someone else in mind? Because when I see Chris Evans, I see the Human Torch.
See, I've been lucky enough or unlucky enough to see all three Captain Americas that have been put on screen. There was two TV movies that were done, and then there was a movie done in the 90s with another guy, and I don't know if that one went to the theaters or if that went straight to video.
See, like I know from seeing my dad watch Captain America when we go and saw it in theaters, and then it's like he had a whole kind of different perspective on it a little bit. Now, for me, my favorite superhero of all time, at least on the Marvel side, I guess you consider them superheroes, but I would call them like the X-Men. My favorite would probably be Wolverine. Okay. I just had a fascination with just the mutated abilities and stuff like that when it comes to a little bit different. I think one of my all-time favorite movies was the X-Men, the Last Stand, the one, the newer version,
the one that everyone doesn't like.
The newer version one, the one where they had Quicksilver in it, where Quicksilver it saved all those kids from the exploding house. I forgot which one that is. It's right after First Class.
Days of Future Past.
Yeah, that's what it is. That one.
Yeah,
I like that one a lot. I heard the new one was terrible. The new X-Men, the Phoenix one.
I have not seen it.
They said there's like a lot of plot holes and stuff, but I like, because my favorite movie of all time when it comes to any Marvel movie, I mean, Deadpool's cool. I mean, who doesn't like, farts, chimichangas, and all these types of things? But Ryan Reynolds is perfect for Deadpool, but I still think of him as the Green Lantern, because DC wise, like favorite superhero, Green Lantern's my favorite. I thought that movie was amazing. A lot of people just said it was terrible. It was even Ryan Reynolds gives it crap, but I'm like, you know what? I enjoy Green Lantern. I love Shazam. I love those types of guys.
Shazam was good. Green Lantern casting was fine. It was just a horrible script.
Yeah, it seemed like it didn't. I mean, it had a okay story, but I just like the fascination of. I have so much fascination for the character in general that even the movie was like, it doesn't matter. It's just I still liked it. It was good. And
favorite Marvel movie, I'm Howard the Duck, and I'm the same way as you are with Green Lantern. I mean, I remember seeing that in the theaters in '86, and it was a great film. But to me, and it was great for the time it came out. But you look at it now, it's like watching the old Adam West Batman. I mean, it's campy, it's cheesy, it's corny, could be considered horrible.
That's not the movie's fault, though. The fact is, we're so consumed with explosions every 2 minutes to capture our attention that's all. We look back at these old flicks, you're like, wow, there's a lot of dry spots. They could have added a boom or a pow here. It's like, no. It created a story. It created something for you to hop onto and get interested in. Holy crap. Yep. You know how many people give shit to the movie Wolverine Origins? That one, the movie based all on Wolverine, everything like that with his brother.
I just didn't like the Gambit the way they portrayed Gambit in that film.
Yeah, they didn't do his
And
character enough justice.
I'm a Gambit fan, and they didn't do Remy right.
Yeah. I think, they overlooked, or they definitely overpassed a couple of things, like when it came to how characters should have been displayed. Like, they obviously should not have sewn Deadpool's mouth shut. They shouldn't have done things of that sort that a lot of people had complaints about. But I was like, that wasn't kind of their point, though. Their more point was trying to create a really good version of the Wolverine origin story. And they lacked
Right.
some quality in the characters around the story. They didn't get the whole universe correct. But I mean, if we honestly followed every single one of the Marvel comics or any type of Marvel comic that has been created, I'm pretty sure that there would be no superheroes left, because everyone has killed each other at some point.
But if they went straight to the Wolverine instead of Wolverine Origin, I think that would have been a much better start for doing a Wolverine franchise.
I see. I think with Wolverine, I'm still waiting for the movie where he gets his actual X-Men costume, like the old one,
Yeah.
the nice yellow, and I want to know how that came to be.
I want to see that in the actual movie, not as a deleted scene.
Yeah. And the fact, I enjoyed that movie because I mean, I like Hugh Jackman and all, but he plays a great Wolverine. But even when I watched the movie Logan, that was supposed to be kind of taking place a little bit when, older and he's dying and everything. It was fucking depressing, dude. I was like, I don't want to watch this. This is seeing my hero die in front of me. I'm like, this sucks. The whole point I liked him so much was, he was able to regenerate. I remember seeing him run off the boat because he was in every single war throughout history. And I was like, and no one even talks about his brother. His brother's badass too. I mean, I hope they make a movie about him. And I'm sitting here just watching this and being fascinated. People are like, you like that piece of shit? I'm like, what do you mean I liked it? It was awesome, dude. You're out of your mind. Who doesn't want to see Hugh Jackman rip a bunch of test tubes off him and run around the world naked? That's awesome.
See, I'm the same way with Star Wars. I love all the films. Now, my least favorite of them all is Last Jedi, but I still enjoy it. But that's the one I could pick apart the most, because there was stuff thrown in. It's like, okay, we got to do this just to give these characters more screen time. And so we're gonna create this whole casino planet and this whole subplot that really has nothing to do with the rest of the movie, except for, we need this one guy to get us on the ship. Well, you've already got that one guy. It's a droid called BB-8. And if you're trying to get BB-8 to that same level as R2-D2, you just figure out, how do you get on the ship without being detected as rebels? And you let BB-8 crack your code to get everything on. You don't need this code cracker guy. Let him do it.
Do you think that a lot of the new movies that are getting redone and brought back with superheroes, whether it's Star Wars, I heard a lot of people did not like a lot of the newer Star Wars that came out, but I think that's coming from a perspective of I guess an older generation, and obviously people who have seen the original versions. And I look at it like the same thing with Johnny Bravo or some type of TV show or cartoon that gets brought back kind of today. I'm like, it's not meant for me anymore. It's meant for a younger audience to be interested and hit on the same basis of what I watched. Like my little cousin who watches Teen Titans, the new one, The Go. And I see it and I'm like, that's a horrendous piece of shit. But at the same time, I'm like, it's still the same story, just they crack a little bit more jokes and make it a little bit more childish than what I was used to, the old Japanese style. So I'm like, okay, well, he goes, dude, did you know Cyborg got turned into a robot because of a car? I'm like, dude, I'm way ahead of you on that, man. Let me tell you, let me tell you about the original. And then I show him the original and seeing his eyes light up, like, whoa, this is so much different. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, but where's the joke? I'm like, because they don't need to attract, they have to, in the new one, attract your attention with explosions and jokes every 2 seconds to keep you even paying attention or off your freaking phone.
Well, I don't think it's that way with Star Wars. I think it's more when it was announced that Disney bought Star Wars or bought Lucasfilm, everyone's like, oh, great, they're going to ruin it. Did they ruin Marvel? No. Did they ruin Pixar? No.
People are just closed off.
It's just, and then when Disney and Lucasfilm both came out and said all the past stories, everything that's considered expanded universe is not canon, is officially not canon, and we're going to label all of that legend. That's when all the hatred of the current films came about, for the most part. Oh no, as anything Disney does with Star Wars is going to be horrible. No, it's still Lucasfilm doing it.
And they're still going to go see the movie anyway.
That was the problem with Solo. A lot of people did not go see Solo.
The TV show?
No, the Solo Star Wars story, the Han Solo movie.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't go see it because of their hatred of The Last Jedi. But the other problem was, too, you're also put it out Memorial Weekend when you already had Avengers Endgame. You got Deadpool 2 coming out shortly after that. It was just bad timing to put it out. If you were going to do a summer film, you should have put it out in August. And I think it would have done better. But they didn't want to put it out in December because they had Mary Poppins that they didn't want to compete with. So that's why all that went down. See, and Disney has admitted, yeah, we put it too close to Last Jedi, and that's why we weren't successful. Well, no, you didn't really market it like you should have. You just put it in the wrong spot for the summer to make it for the summer.
Which, I mean, that could be a major detriment to so many good movie titles that come out. Where next thing you know, you see it on Netflix, you're like, why wasn't this something I saw in theaters?
Yeah. Well, Solo was a great film. I absolutely enjoyed it.
I haven't seen it.
Now, my favorite of all the Disney Star Wars films is Rogue One. Rogue One is gorgeous. That was the movie or the video game that I wanted as a kid that I never got. And I didn't know I wanted it until it came out.
See, I haven't seen any of the newest Star Wars. I think the Rogue One, it was like their first one that came out.
Force Awakens.
Yeah, the Force Awakens. I saw like maybe 20 minutes into that one, and I was like, it's a little bit too slow for me. The problem is when it comes to movies, I don't kind of diverse myself unless I already have a fascination with the thing in general. I have a fascination with Star Wars, but then hearing so much from people in the beginning saying it's just crap, it just sucks, it sucks. I'm like, and then I also hear the other side with like, it's awesome, you gotta go see it, You know, my kids loved it. I'm like, okay, I can tell it's going to be like Teen Titans a little bit, where it's fit for a newer generation to understand.
See, part of the joy for me was it was my dad who took the family to go see Star Wars when it came out in 1977. And I saw it in drive-in movie theater. It was Star Wars followed by Star Wars. That was the double feature. It was Star Wars twice. So here I am in the back of the family station wagon watching it twice. I stayed up both times to watch this film. So when the Force Awakens came about, I'm sitting here at home with my daughter, getting her up to speed on the 6 films. So when we go to the theater, I get to enjoy her experience of seeing it in the theater for that first time.
And seeing her face light up at all the stuff you used to light up to.
Correct. And that was, I don't think that was something my dad truly got to experience with me because, well, we're there as the franchise is launching and starting. We're there from the ground roots. But he was with us. He and my mom were with us when we went and saw the theater. So he got to see me enjoy seeing her and enjoy seeing her. He got to see how the generation thing followed through to the next generation.
Yeah. I mean,
if that makes sense.
It does. And
He
what I
knows
think is
he knows he started me on it, and now I'm starting the third generation of the family on it.
keeping it kind of a little bit influenced, because I mean, even where they change and they make it different and they make it completely different from how you remember it, it keeps along the
Yeah.
same basis that helps you be
Oh,
able
yeah.
to kind of relate to some things with them on the new version that they're kind of being introduced to,
Oh, yeah.
which becomes their original, which becomes their piece. It's keeping this I guess amazing franchise kind of still alive, where it seems like everyone, like I said, their attention span has to be attracted by something with
Yep.
explosions every couple of minutes.
Now here's the fun part. Last October, my daughter sat down next to me one day. She goes, "Daddy, I don't know how to tell you this, and I don't want you to be mad." I'm like, "Well, just come out and say it." I like Harry Potter more than I like Star Wars, but I still love Star Wars. But I like Harry Potter more. I'm like, honey,
Get out of the house.
as long as you're true to yourself, that's all that counts.
That's true, because a lot of people, nowadays are so afraid of being who they want to be or who they're going to be. They would just want to be like, I can tell you right now, I don't want to be 90 years old or be, anything at the end of my life and being like, I made it through life. I don't want to say that. I want to say I lived the life. I want to say I talked to as many people as possible. I'm interested in what people are interested in. You're interested in talking about things that people would consider geek related. I've talked about this before. Why are we calling it geek related though? Why does it have to be labeled geeks? We see it more and more nowadays. Everybody's walking around with a superhero t-shirt on. People that you would think would be jocks back in the day that used to beat up people that used to go and see superhero movies or read the next Marvel comic or do that. They've all switched. There's no more labels on who's a jock, who's a nerd, who's a geeker anymore, because everybody is finding a fascination in this, because we're all looking to escape from this life we're living in a little bit. It kind of sucks, the fact that we have these types of problems going on in our country, that people are either turning to video games or turning into something else where they feel like they have to escape.
Yep.
And that's what's becoming, and that's what's making it a giant popular influence in the world today. I'm like,
well, it's like we say over on Be Geeks. We consider ourselves the quote unquote official voice of the geek revolution, because that's what it is out there. It's a geek revolution.
it's a geek movement.
So I mean, there's still some people rebelling against it, but these are still the same people who are going to go on to Netflix and binge a show. You know what? Whether that show is a geek show or not, you're a geek because you're addicted to something.
You find a fascination with, seeing blasters and seeing clone troopers die. Like you have a fascination with that. And why would anybody try and call you a nerd for it?
Yeah. Well, it's just like with the show. Let's take Friends, for instance. There's no blasters. But if you're going to sit down and binge watch that, you're a geek.
What, Friends?
Yeah.
If you're binge watching Friends, there's only one reason why you're doing that, and that's because you see Jennifer Aniston, you're like, yeah.
Well, there's other people who just thoroughly enjoy the show. I mean, we go Seinfeld. I was never a Seinfeld fan.
I'm not a Seinfeld fan. I hate Jerry Seinfeld. I mean, I don't hate him, but I don't like his voice.
But I'm sorry, you get these people who binge watch that. You're a geek.
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, anything.
Why does being a geek just a label for just seen for nerds, when it's just a fascination with something you're interested in?
See, that's why we're We Be Geeks, not We Be Nerds, because for me, don't get me wrong, I loved like the Revenge of the Nerds movies.
Oh yeah.
And they're more nerds. You look at Big Bang Theory, Sheldon, nerd. Howard, geek.
Yeah, he has a fascination with Star Wars. He's still a scientist, but he doesn't dive into the realm like where Sheldon Cooper's like a calculator, basically.
Right. Leonard is both. He's a geek and a nerd. And there's nothing that says a nerd can't be a geek. But I think the nerds are more into I think there's a social dysfunction with them. They struggle getting by in society, and they're definitely very book smart and much rather hit the books than. And I think that's why they can cross over into the geek realm. Whereas with a geek, I'm sorry, I'm not an astrophysicist. I'm not into physics, but I love space. I love sci-fi. I love the realm of superheroes and that whole fantasy. That's what makes me a geek.
Yeah. You're fascinated with things that are meant to be fascinating. Why is it the fact that someone who considers, if you watch Star Wars movies or any type of sci-fi movie, a nerd, but the fact that he's looking up the newest history about how we're discovering things about space, like black holes and these types of things that are going on around us? It's like, it's the same basis. It's the same thing.
I enjoy reading some of these stories about new discoveries in space. But if someone calls me a Star Trek or a Star Wars nerd or even a Star Trek nerd, I'm like, no, I'm not a nerd. I'm a geek.
Yeah, I enjoy something and I like to thoroughly dive into it.
I am a geek, not a nerd. I think the word nerd, and I don't think it's a negative word at all. It's the difference of saying whether you're a genius or exceptionally smart.
It's basically an unjustified description of somebody. I don't see the.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one who, like a Sheldon Cooper, who will. Well, I want to understand this, and I have to go and break down the theory behind it all. I'm not that guy. I'm a geek. If I was the other guy, yeah, I would be a nerd.
Yeah.
And if I was a nerd, I don't think I would be able to adapt in society well.
I think the problem with a lot of people say, like, if you ever saw, I don't know if you watched Joe Rogan's podcast when he had Elon Musk on.
Yeah.
Well, everyone was like, he seems like he's just like doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. I'm like, Elon Musk is a very, very smart guy. The problem is he's not a very good public speaker. He was somebody that basically was hospitalized in high school because he was pushed down a flight of stairs. He was severely bullied. He was someone that did not fit into society's, I guess, normalcy, whatever the hell that means, to how people function.
Elon Musk is a huge geek because that whole thing when he launched the car in space.
He has a fascination with space.
And had it playing Rocket Man.
Yeah.
That's a geek move, but he's such a nerd and he's great.
Yeah.
So
the fact is, like, he's not a good public speaker. Now, my second job is at a gym. So I'm there every day. I witness the people that come in from the people that can function in society that choose to go around end of the day, a little bit afternoon, like probably like 5 o'clock or something, who choose to like being around people and everything like that. And then if you look at people that go at the gym at 2 o'clock in the morning and they're the only ones there to lifting weights, it's because they don't like being around other people for one of two reasons. One, they don't feel like they can have a conversation with someone around them because they feel like they're too smart, or two, they're selling you some type of drug. Now, when it comes to the first type of people.
Yeah, pause real quick.
Okay. I just think there are people out there that are literally too intelligent to have normal conversations. That's just a fact. Now you look at, let's say, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He levels it for you and it helps people understand the fascination with how complicated space is. You would not hire Elon Musk to perform a space TV show and try and get him to help an audience understand. You would hire someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson, a good speaker. Then you look at Bill Nye the Science Guy. Okay. He has a good speaker and good public performance and a good way of educating society by making it fun and interesting and bringing them into real world things that if a normal scientist just tried to explain to you, you'd be sitting there, eyes glazed over, drooling all over yourself. It's all about finding the right fit and how people like the classification geek and nerd. The fact that those exist, they're two completely different things. A geek being able to say I geeked out to something was the fact that, oh, you went all out on it. There are people that do that. Twilight series, those people like specifically that have drama roles and stuff. But then you look at nerds, people that the real term of it is being very, very educated and highly just being able to speak of what you're talking about, but not being able to kind of function in normal classifications or normalized society.
You're able to speak about it with no problem, but you can't
express it.
You can't speak it. You can't. I don't want to say dumb it down, but you can't dumb it down for people to understand.
Yeah.
Why you're so fascinated by it.
And I think that's just because they have a more developed brain sometimes too. They're more educated in that field, and like not being a good public speaker, like you hear on the Big Bang Theory, Sheldon Cooper goes, I don't know how to make it any more simple than that. And it's like a giant freaking Albert Einstein equation on the board. And I'm just sitting there like, what? But it's the whole thing. He, in his eyes, that's how he sees the world. He sees it we all see it in completely different perspectives. You see it in a different light. I see it in a different light. We have different fascinations, different interests. We shouldn't be looking at that. That makes us different in a bad way. That makes us different in an amazing way. The fact that every conversation with someone that you have in your life is going to be completely different. Whether like I said, there's no good or bad ones. It's just conversation. It's all about we all live here together, but we're not understanding. We're not taking the time to get to know one another, which is the main reason why I started reaching out more online with fellow podcasters or just people who are looking to be on a podcast, because we all have interests. I hope one day, you decide, what, I got someone I want to bring on my podcast, the Be Geeks. And then I'll hop in there with my dumb brain being like, I don't know a whole lot, but I want to learn. I want to be open to what other people are open to, because if you live your life closed off, which I feel like a lot of us do today, you're not going to get anywhere in the world. You're not going to have a life. I'd rather live a life that is shit and be able to do and understand as many people as I possibly can, and being able to just talk to as many people as they can, than live a life that is completely, set for the rest of my life, money, everything like that, but then be miserable. The happiest guy in the world could have a fascination with building IKEA furniture. Me, I don't know why the hell I always have leftover screws. I don't understand until my shelf falls off the wall. But for that guy, even if it's pain, even if it's like, it's so hard for him to build furniture, but he enjoys it so much, he will find a way to do it. He will do what he sucks at because he loves doing it.
Right.
I tell people, I'm like, if you want to podcast, if you want to start talking to people, I think of myself as an okay speaker. I'm able to kind of be able to get my thoughts, opinions in a clear way without stutteration or anything of this sort, that can kind of pause and do these types of things that leave these giant things where people are like, all right, come on, get to the next one. And I've met people that have a fascination with podcasting to the point where just hearing them try and get their point across, it's like they didn't know the words they were trying to reach for. I'm like, it's a craft, it's a muscle, it's something you have to work at. But if you enjoy putting in the time, much like anything, you can achieve anything you want to. You just have to be willing to put in the effort for it. You're telling me you got to be an amazing audio engineer at a famous amusement park because you sat on your ass all day and just played Minecraft? Hell no. That's not saying Minecraft's bad and doing that is not bad, but you can't live your life like that forever. It's not going to be a life you're going to truly be fulfilled with. The fact that we're on this earth for a reason, to make memories and to be more understanding and open and experience so many different things, whether it's information from stories or experiences, or it's information from a textbook. It's all depends on what you make it in. And if you can't truly do that just living a comfortable lifestyle that everybody is doing now, where they just want to go to work, go to school, go home, watch TV, go to work, go to school, go home, watch TV, whatever the hell it is. It adapts to the person. But when you live a life like that, you're never truly going to be happy. You're just going to be like, everyone's going to ask you, so what was your life like? Like, I did this job, I did that job. Like, that's it. And like, yeah, well, I had some dinners in between there and some, I went out and saw this one movie one time. It's like, but where's the life? Where's the experience? Yeah. Where's the history? And like, you're telling me here, like, the stuff, you're all about, in like with Marvel comics and all these types of things. And I'm like, the main thing I'm thinking right now is like, how do you handle those meth gators you guys have down in Florida?
I call the Gator Boys if I need to.
It's the whole thing. It's like, there's so many things going on in the world around us, and a lot of us are completely oblivious to it. Just the fascination with how people are fascinating. Dude, I can tell you right now, with our whole talk, you're an interesting dude. And I'm glad to even be able to sit down for an hour and talk to you, man, because we truly don't do that anymore. The fact that I can walk around a store with my phone in my car and just truly be able to say like, hey, how you doing? And then like someone from a different language or something like Romanian, I'll just walk up and be like, Jim Fac. They'll be like, Bine? And they'll start speaking. I'm like, that's all I know, bro. That's all I know. I'm sorry. I only know how to say hello. And like, why is that? I'm like, because I've talked to people from another country that have come over here, and they go 95% of the way to learn everything, come to this country and try and understand us. I can take that 5% to learn how to say hi, or at least pronounce their name correctly. But so many people don't do that.
Yep. Oh yeah. I thoroughly agree. Well, it's like, I mean, if you ever listen to our shows, our interview shows, it's kind of like here. It's just we don't do all right, here's the formal questions. We're going to send you everything we're asking because we want scripted answers.
Yeah, that I just had, I think it was the other day, I had someone that was just trying to plug their whole thing. And I'm looking at his podcast. I'm like, you have 2 views on your most popular video. You have over 100 episodes. And I'm like, it's not really out there. And I'm willing to help you get out there. But at the same time, he just wanted to come on and be like, all right, here's what I want. In this 10 minutes, I'm just going to describe myself. And then also, I just want to plug my whole podcast. So that's all he wanted to do. And he's like, he's trying to sell merch and everything. I'm like, dude, I understand how you want to, what you're trying to accomplish out of this. But I told you before, like, it's not, this isn't a sponsorship thing. This isn't even something like my podcast.
Oh, believe me, I got merchandise I want to sell. If you go to my websites and click the links on the side, but
and like,
that's not what I'm here for. We're here to talk. We're here to have a conversation.
And I'm more than happy than letting you get your stuff out there too. I'm like, yeah, we can do something at the end. Obviously, everybody's like would like to plug something, get a little bit more attention drawn to them. My thing is, I'm doing this not just for people out there to grab and pull something from it, like someone who's going through depression or something that finds an interest in something you say. And then they're like, holy shit, I didn't know someone thought that way. The fact is, I'm doing this for me. I'm trying to enrich my own life as well as have wonderful conversations with people out here and figure out if there's someone that's pissed off all the time, what happened? What happened along the way that got you to this point? How can I help you, or how can you help me?
I think with our interviews though, on my stuff, John Schneider helped me the best when I interviewed him. We had an interview. We had a tech failure where everything got lost. The whole recording was gone. So he goes, hey, let's reschedule this for tomorrow. And just a bit of advice. He goes, I love you guys. You guys are fun. I want to help you guys out with just one thing with your interviews. And your interviews will exceed just that much more. It's like, sure, we're open to anything. Start off with the latest or the newest project that your guest is coming on for. Then you go back and hit their past. But let them talk about why they're coming on the show first before you go to their past. Get that out of the way. They'll open up about their past a lot more.
Yeah. And
I've done that. I've done that with every interview since, and I've had the most fun with our interviews. Even with this, we're just BSing around the table as if we're all having, met up at the bar or the restaurant, and we're just sitting down late night having a chat.
That's exactly why I actually that was the idea for starting my podcast was from the foundation. I got a buddy that called me was on the edge of like jumping off his house and stuff, and not to dive into that, but I saw him after we talked and he was like, "This is awesome, man." I'm like, we don't have moments like these that are ever recorded or ever done with anybody anymore, because the only time it ever happens, like we all have experienced those 2 a.m. bonfires sitting out with friends where you don't remember exactly what was said, whether alcohol was involved or not, or it just the fact that it was a good time. You don't remember what exactly you talked about, but every time you see that person, you remember that moment in your head because you made a bond.
Natural conversations don't happen much anymore.
Yeah.
And with podcasting, I think that's something that really needs to be there, is the natural conversation and the natural vibe to a show.
Yeah.
I mean, this is where I'm gonna get it on a slight soapbox. I've been seeing people lately asking, "How long does it take to edit your show?" I turn around and say 5 to 25 minutes, depending on which show and what requirements I need time wise.
Yeah.
Why? Well, I just said right now. I don't know if you're gonna cut it out.
Oh no, dude! I tell people all the time I'm the same way. When you hear a
I
cough,
leave it in.
yeah, when you hear a cough or anything like that, I'm like, that's real conversation. Why would I cut out a real moment? The fact that my friend can spill beer on my podcast and in the middle of it go, "Oh shit," and then like just start going like, "Oh, I need to get up and wipe this up," and I'm just sitting here like, "You dumb motherfucker!" Like just it's the whole fact.
Well,
like
you
shit.
said your parents were in radio.
Yeah.
You listen to all the morning talk shows.
It's all structured. It's all has a list, like they're reading off a script or some shit.
But even then, when they have the natural conversations, they go, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And there's the mouth noises, people, and that drives me nuts too. Listening to a show and it's, I am, and
Yeah.
And there's no, where did the person take a breath?
Yeah.
I mean, the breath sound, I mean, you can't get into a sentence or into a thought without, okay, I know it's going to be a big thought. And I apologize right now for that big mouth breath right there. But, that's the essence of some of these words. And that's stuff I've learned being an audio engineer as well. With a singer, you want some of that breathiness to their voice. You don't do a noise gate or a compressor to have it where it starts exactly at the very start of the sound of a word, because part of that sound of the word is the beginning breath into it. You got to give it some of that air. You got to allow your show to breathe.
Yeah, you got to have realness to it. Like you don't, if you wanted to hear the exact CD version of your song, then listen to the CD. But if you're going to a live performance, I like it when they stop in the middle of a song and go, "How's everybody doing tonight?" Or they adapt the lyrics to their crowd that they're playing in front of. Like instead of saying, like, "How's everybody doing?" And then you hear like the line like, "Oh, he's going to say Chicago." And they go, "Baltimore." And I'm like, holy shit, that's where I'm at right now. Like that whole thing, like it brings a realness to not only the performer, but to the experience you're in right now.
Hello, Cleveland. We're in Orlando. Hello, Tampa. I mean, it's just one of those. People make mistakes in the concert. They don't go, "Okay, everyone leave, come back in. We're going to restart this." No, they pick up and go straight on. Someone breaks a guitar string. Either someone's changing the guitar string during the song, or they're being swapped or they're being handed another guitar, which may not be tuned for that song, but they're going to do a quick tune and continue on.
Yeah.
Get the other guitar strung, tuned, and back out to them. I mean, No one complains about that. Oh, his guitar string broke in the middle of the song. He had to swap guitars. Well, that made that song horrible. And that made the show completely awful. You listen to talk morning radio shows. No one complains about them and how they're done. And they could be it could be us putting this show on morning talk. No one's going to complain about it. They go download off Pocket. Well, you left the ums and uhs. You got too much this, too much that. You know what? That's the way I want my show. You don't
Yeah.
complain about radio. Don't complain about my show. It's the natural vibe of the show.
Yeah, and I've had people like, can you give me a list of questions you're going to be asking me? I'm like, dude, it's conversation, whatever you want to talk about. They're like, well, I really want to talk about this. And like, I want to talk about like a little bit about novel writing and history. I'm like, well, if that's what the conversation leads into, then that's what we're going to talk about. Obviously, if you're a novelist, we're not bringing that up. So, I'm not going to structure my list.
We're prime example ourselves. I said, normally I don't talk politics on my show. No, I don't talk politics on my shows. And then we went off on a small politic tangent.
Yeah.
And it was good conversation. You didn't die. I didn't die. You're not offended. I'm not offended.
My feelings are hurt that you think I wasn't offended.
Well, fine. Go to your timeout room.
Oh. Well, see, it's the whole thing.
Do you want a participation ribbon too?
I would love a participation trophy because there are no winners and losers in this world. Okay. Even though when I watched my little cousin play soccer, I'm like, it was 46-2. You're telling me there wasn't a winner or a loser? We don't keep score. Everyone's a winner here. I'm like, that's good for their self-esteem, but also you need to feel the humbling of a loss. You know what? It makes you better. It makes you look at your life and go, okay, I need to work on this to get better at this sport. So I don't think that life's going to be handed to me all the time. Are you telling me an Olympian who trains his freaking ass off to, win the gold medal? Think about the Olympian that gets last place. Like he's probably thinking in his head, I forgot who said it, but it was like an old bit. He was like, damn, I'm going to come in last in the Olympics. He goes, I didn't have to train my ass off all year and I could have came in last. Like the whole thing, like you need to be good at something. You need to put the effort in for it.
Well, I think some of my favorite comments made after the election in 2016 when Trump won, people were going, do you want your participation ribbon for voting? That's what your sticker was. It says I voted. That's your participation ribbon. I was like, there's no winners or losers. Well, no, there's a winner or loser, and you're feeling that pain now. This is why you have winners and losers.
Yeah, so you know what needs to happen next time, how you make adjustments to win. You get that humbling effect.
Set up time, so you don't have to set up timeout rooms.
Yeah, and the fact that like when you start eliminating things of this sort, like that just hurts their self-esteem. It's okay. It builds them up. Now, I was severely bullied, but guess what? I grew from that and I became better for it. It's turned me into the person I have today. I have no downsides of those people. I don't have any hatred towards them. I am better for what happened is that. And the fact is, we're all here together. We're all experiencing something. And the fact that you want to soften it up because it's going to hurt somebody else, that's okay to do in some terms. But when you start softening everything and you start putting bubble wrap on every single thing, you don't want to do anything to go actually put in that hard work or effort. You just think everything's going to be handed to you. And that's not how the world works.
Yep. You're not entitled to things. You have to earn it. Everything's a right, and you got to earn that right.
Yeah, exactly, man. And you know what? I just want to say I appreciate you coming out and doing my podcast, man.
My pleasure.
It was an experience, dude, for sure. I want you to give a couple of your plugs in for your podcast so people can look up some of your stuff.
Well, my main show sites is Be Geeks, Mighty Marvel Geeks, Wookie Radio, all one word, .net for each show. So webegeeks.net, mightymarvelgeeks.net, wikieradio.net. And yes, please go down the right-hand side of the page, hit up my affiliates. My partners found me in Heroes and Villains, who they just for you, well, okay, not just for you, but I'm mentioning this because of you. Your favorite topic. They just released Star Trek T-shirts to their line.
I have to comment. I have to comment.
They also have Star Wars. They got some great Star Wars backpacks and T-shirts. Dude, I've got one of their backpack. I got the indoor collection. The Rebel Indoor Commando backpack they have.
Hell yeah.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. Problem is I need to get another bag from them. I want to get another bag from them that's more water resistant.
Yeah.
Because of all the rains that we get down here. That bag gets soaked. So eventually I want to turn that into my convention bag / when I go to the parks. Because usually when I go to the parks, I have a poncho with me anyway. So if it starts to rain, I just throw that over the backpack and it protects the backpack. Well, when I'm working, I can't do that. So I'm looking. I want to get one of their rain resistant or rain waterproof backpacks, just to handle, protecting my computer and that from the rain. But they've also got Marvel, the Hellfire Club, and they've also got Son of Batman stuff as well. It's all great stuff. But I also have my own web store for all 3 shows, and you could get it's the image with the rotating product in it. Go to that; it'll take you to my web store. Hats, T-shirts, hockey jerseys, baseball jerseys, hoodies, knit caps, a little bit of everything, and
It's awesome, man. And I just, like I said before, I appreciate you coming and doing my podcast.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And I'll let you know right now, if you ever need anybody that wants to be a guest on your podcast, I'm more than willing to be on that.
Yeah.
It sounds like something I could dive into the realm of.
I'm trying to figure out another round table show of some sort. Maybe something for fall TV. What are you looking forward to? What are you going to binge? What have you binged? Something like that. Yeah.
It's always interesting, man. And let me say, you're an awesome dude, and I hope that your podcast goes out there and expands a little bit. Because, man, we're all just people, dude. We're all just trying to make it and have fun in this world. So why not? Why are we going to hurt somebody to not get that point across?
That's true.
Thanks again for being on my podcast, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.